Hey everyone. Oh, as if I wasn't already hot and steaming under the collar back when Stephen Harper, the conservative, there's nothing conservative. I mean, if you understand what a conservative truly means, like what that very word, what the very definition of that word means, and you've seen how Harper was more than willing to bail out the auto industry and the banksters in this country, you'd be like, wait a minute. That's not anything out of the so-called conservative playbook. You're supposed to be all about promoting the free market. Well, there's nothing free when you force taxpayers to either give loans to or bail out multi-billion-dollar corporations that have a footprint in lots of countries all around the world. For one country to bail out these corporations that can go around and then take that bailout money and profit somewhere else without benefiting actually the domestic population that bailed them out. Yeah, like I say, no, bailouts are a terrible idea. That's a collectivist. That's what would be considered a leftist position to take, a socialist or a communist or a fascist position to take. But as we're seeing, Harper, I guess, well, he kind of likes that fascism, right? Apparently, because he was more than willing to not just bail out the auto industry and prop them up rather than force them to restructure properly and learn from their past mistakes or bad behaviors or corruption. He also bailed out all the big banks. And I've shown people and Canadians, the proof's out there, folks. You can try to deny, even though the media lied to you, deceived you, and misled you into believing that, oh, can we escape the recession without having to bail out? No, bull crap. We bailed out the banks. Well, I didn't choose to. You didn't choose to, but Harper chose to bail out the banks big time. Just look to my past videos to learn that reality. So I'm already, like I say, I was already chomping at the bit even back then when Harper did that, because like, oh, conservative? I mean, at least with the conservatives, there are lots of bad things that come with choosing to support a conservative political party, because, well, that fiscal conservatism also brings social conservatism, which I'm completely against. As a libertarian, social conservatism, let people live socially as free as they want, as long as they're not hurting anyone else. Do your thing. It's actually the most unfortunate thing that we have to choose from the liberals that are all about more social freedoms and fiscal recklessness, or conservatives that are all about supposedly fiscal prudence, but very socially conservative and restricted to people's social rights and freedoms. Once again, the fact that Canadians have to choose between those two lesser of evils, that's already a detriment. But to then see both establishment political parties playing both sides of the coin when they deem it politically opportunistic for them, yeah, once again, they're just showing their true colors, folks. But anyways, like I say, that's bad enough. The conservatives showed that they were nothing even remotely resembling genuine conservatives when you're talking about economics, which is why the Canadian people said, you know what, Harper, bye-bye, get out of here, you're gone. And good for you, Canada, for doing so. The problem, of course, is you chose to fall back on that old position, and I get it. I get it. Well, it was either NDP or the Liberals, and I get it. Between those two lesser of evils, at least the Liberals aren't quite as socialist. At least the rhetoric doesn't sound quite as socialist as the NDP. So Canadians said, well, between those two, well, I guess the Liberals will have to be the only option. Well, they perceived the Liberals were the only option, so they chose to vote in the Liberals. But as we're seeing, at least Harper had the pretense that it was supposed to be a loan in regards to some of the bailouts or some portion of the bailouts. At least some part of it was supposed to be just a loan, which means it should be repaid. So at least the taxpayers would recoup at least a portion of all that they were forced to give to these multi-billion-dollar corporations. But now enter the Liberals, and no, now that pretense is gone. They've stepped up the game of forced wealth and income redistribution and taken from the working poor in this country. And now they said, you know what? You don't even have to pay it back. It's all yours. Go ahead. Screw the taxpayers. Headline, National Post, Liberals write off $6.3 billion in loans, including $2.6 billion to automaker. The $2.6 billion write-off came through Export Development Canada as part of a loan the previous Conservative government made in 2009 to keep Chrysler afloat. And you know what? As much as I love that new Chrysler, that Challenger Hellcat, what a beautiful piece of machinery. Even if I had the money right now to go out and buy it, I wouldn't do it. Why would I want to prop up an organization that was more than willing to take the proceeds, that is theft, from the, not just the taxpayers in Canada, because let me tell you, the debt levels are so high, it'll be the unborn that'll be paying for all this stuff eventually. So they were more than willing to economically enslave the unborn to prop up that organization, that corporation. So yeah, now same with GM. I'm actually normally the kind of guy, I've always been a big fan of GM, but when they took that bailout, I was like, no. And not that I get anything against the employees. Hey, if you come ask us to help you out and we do it voluntarily, I'm all for that. But to force me to do it without my input whatsoever, no. That causes me a lot of concern and makes me have real disdain for these corporations. Because they're showing that they're not all about markets anymore. They're all about cozying up to government. This is being reported by the Canadian Press, October 22nd, 2018. Ottawa. The federal government is writing off more than $6.3 billion in loans to businesses and students as the Trudeau government marks a new annual high in money it never expects to get back. The Liberals have already written off some $3 billion in loans in each of the past 2 years, but they jumped past the mark in the fiscal year 2017-2018 with help from one loan. The $2.6 billion write-off came through Export Development Canada as part of a loan the previous Conservative government made in 2009 to keep automaker Chrysler afloat. There have long been concerns the government would never collect the cash it gave to the automaker out of fear its collapse would have devastating economic effects on Canada. The company used the cash, a US $1.125 billion loan, to restructure. So, I mean, listen, this is the thing. When these organizations, these businesses, these banksters, these corporations, when they get so big that, hey, if you don't do what we say, right? If you don't bail us out, we'll cause some real pain in your economy. Well, that tells you that you're in a perilous situation because there's a lot of corporations in this country that sustain a lot of livelihoods, especially the public sector. So think about these private corporations. The public sector, as we know, employs over 4.1 million Canadians in this country. Imagine trying to unwind that. I mean, if you can't even do it for a private corporation, yeah, try to unwind the level of bureaucracy and the massive size and scope of the public sector when you're hearing the kind of rhetoric coming out of just one company, just one business, one corporation. I mean, I like Chrysler vehicles, but trust me, we'd all be okay even if there was a smaller Chrysler corporation, or even if there was no such thing as Chryslers at all. We would all survive just fine, folks. Still lots of manufacturers out there, just like Ford. Hey, they didn't take any bailout money. You could always go buy a Ford, right? I can't believe I'm saying that. If you said 10 years ago, or even 20 years ago, I should say, I was usually not a Ford fan, mostly in regards to aesthetics and some of the reliability issues they had in the past. But hey, at least when it comes to the business model, Ford didn't have to run to the government to be bailed out. So at least they're doing better in that regard. And trust me, there's lots of others out there too, right? Like, as you see when you're out there on the road, there's lots of car manufacturers in this world, okay? So any fear tactics that, oh, we just won't have to, oh, what, we'll have to go back? Horses? Is that what the pretense is if we don't bail out these auto companies? What? Like I say, anyways, I'll post a link to this article in the description of the video below. I'm not going to waste any more time and reference it. Just sheer fact that, once again, the Liberals took your money, and like I say, it's not even your money. Are you seeing your taxes raised to the point to pay for this? Well, maybe when the carbon tax comes in, but that's not even going to be close to enough to pay for all these so-called entitlements or promises that the Trudeau Liberals are making. No, it's the unborn at this point. It's people that have no say in the matter. They're the ones that are going to have the bulk of these debt obligations thrust upon them, and they didn't have no say in the matter. Like, how immoral can you get that you would thrust this on the unborn? Like I said, these debt levels, even if you took 100% of every Canadian's paycheck, it would still take decades to pay off these debts. And you'd be dead, or a lot of people that assume these debts will be long dead. So once again, it's the people that never had anything to do with these debts that will ultimately be forced to pay for it. We got to get away from this stuff, folks, which is why you have to support Maxime Bernier and the People's Party of Canada. That's the only way we're going to affect real change in this country. If you just keep playing these stupid games of pick or less of evil, well, both political parties, whether it's the Liberals or Conservatives or the Endeavours, once again, don't ever support the Socialists, for crying out loud. You don't want to destroy the country that quickly. Come on. But anyways, the Liberals, Conservatives, they know it's, hey, the Canadians will pick one of us. We'll just wait our turn. That's their whole mentality, and that's how it's been. That's how I've watched it play out throughout my whole lifetime. It's like, well, we don't have to be good. We don't have to be principled. We don't have to do the right thing. We just have to show that we're a little bit less authoritarian as our counterparts, or we've got a better sales pitch than our counterparts on the opposite side of the political aisle. And then Canadians will choose them instead, and then they'll flip-flop back the other side, and they'll flip back. That race to the bottom, well, it's only going to constantly lead us to the bottom. If you want to go anywhere else, if you want to start heading upwards, well, like I say, Maxime Bernier and the People's Party of Canada, that's your own choice. Well, you have the Libertarian Party of Canada, but once again, Canadians don't even really know about the Libertarian Party of Canada, so as much as I wish they were an option, they aren't at this particular time. So, PPC, that's the way it's got to be. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.